round witch's hat. And you can all go up the attic ready for next year. The scarf. Now, actually, it is starting to get a bit chilly now. No, I'll leave the scarf in the hallway, I think, ready for winter. Okay. Oh, hiya. Sorry, just sorting out a few bits here. Well, Halloween has been and gone, and what a lot of fun that was. Well, most of it. I have to say I was less impressed with traipsing through a cold, wet, muddy field looking for the perfect pumpkin for Dave and Kenny to carve. Oh, it had been raining such a lot and the ground was really slippy. And me, elegant as ever, I could feel my welly sliding and then whoosh, down I went on my bottom into a massive puddle. Oh, I was mortified. I mean, Kenny thought it was hilarious, and Dave tried to hide his smile as he helped me up, trying to look concerned. Well, then I looked back down at my feet, and there was the perfect pumpkin. And I did start to laugh as well. So we bought the pumpkin, and then Dave had to drop me home so that I could get washed, changed, and dry. Kenny wanted to stop, but Dave reminded him that they had nothing to change into at mine. So Kenny then suggested that they bring some clean clothes to leave at my house just in case. Well, I actually thought that was a good idea. And Dave seemed pleased, so that is quite a step forward in our relationship. Oh, we finally decided that it was time for my parents to meet Kenny and Kenny's grandma. So we organised to meet for lunch in town on Halloween. That way, I knew my mother would have to behave. Well, as expected, my dad got on really well with Dave's mum. And actually, mum was really good with Kenny. She was helping him colour in the children's menus and doing the puzzles. There was a lot of whispering going on between the two of them. And then, suddenly, my mum grabs him by the hand and marches him out of the door. I mean, I felt awful. There were no words to describe what she'd just done. 10 minutes later, and in walks my mum with a very smart-looking Dracula. Oh, well, apparently, Kenny'd been telling my mum that he didn't think his Halloween costume would fit him anymore, and his dad didn't think it was a good idea to go trick-or-treating, so this year they were just going to decorate the house. You know, with the usual cobwebs, giant spiders, oh, and of course the pumpkin on the front doorstep. Well, my mum didn't think that was good at all, so she took him and bought him a costume. She then told us that we all had to dress up that evening because she had a surprise for us. Well, luckily, I had an old witch's costume from a fancy dress party a few years ago. Dad opted out, as did Dave's mum, and Dave ripped up an old shirt and an old pair of jeans, covered it all in tomato sauce, you know, for the blood. Then we both painted our faces white, and then mum turns up to pick us up in a very slim-fitting, attractive-looking vampire costume. Oh, typical mum. She then drove us to a rather spooky-looking castle, which had like howling noises coming from it. Well, once we got inside, there were grim reapers and ghosts, giant spiders in all the corridors. And then I started worrying. What if it was all a bit too much for Kenny and it gave him nightmares? I had nothing to worry about. Kenny didn't seem fazed at all and actually was laughing at most of it. He then ran ahead of us and kept jumping out at us to scare us. And of course, we all acted terrified. And we got into the centre of the castle, right? And there was this headless horseman. Kenny pointed at it and said, "Oh, look, they haven't finished that one." Then off he went, swinging his lantern into the cafe, ready for a piece of vampire cake and a drink of blood. Strawberry milkshake. Well, Mum dropped everyone home. And as Kenny was getting out of the car, he leaned over to my mum, gave her a big hug and thanked her for such a lovely day. And then said, "I'm going to call you Grandma number 2. Well, I mean, I could have cried and Dave's eyes were welling up. Oh, do you know, My mum acting half her age does have its advantages. And actually, I was really grateful to her. I actually felt really close to her that night. Oh, of course, then bonfire night came, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen after everything last year. But thankfully, the community centre near me had decided to put on a fireworks display. Oh, they had this tent on the green selling fairy cakes that were iced like bonfires, toffee apples, and even some gingerbread shaped as Guy Fawkes. There was a bonfire fenced off and a bar. And there was also a fire engine with 4 firemen. They were letting the kids go on and off the truck and put the emergency lights on. Well, Dave knew one of the firemen, so Kenny got extra time on the fire engine. And when he came off, he announced to us that he was going to be a fireman when he gets older. Oh, they also gave him a yellow plastic hat to wear. Well, apparently he did not want to take it off, even to go to bed, and was wearing it for a few days after too. Do you know, that night with the fireworks going off in the sky, the colours and the stars, everything just felt really magical. Especially because Kenny just kept holding my hand. I have to admit, he really has rather stolen my heart. And it's really made me think about Dave and myself going forward. Well, anyway, now I am left with this lot, including some decorations that Kenny insisted on leaving here with me to go back up the attic, ready for next year. Oh, Kenny and I had a really lovely chat, and he was telling me what a wonderful time he'd had. And I said, well, Christmas is coming up soon, so we may be able to have a bit more fun yet. He stopped and looked at me and said, Josie, you like dressing up, don't you? I nodded. And he said, well, we could dress up and do a pantomime. Well, I asked him, did he have any pantomimes in mind? And then I suggested Cinderella, and I could be one of the wicked sisters. He stopped me, gave me a rather serious look and said, no, I want you to be Snow White and I want Daddy to be Prince Charming, kiss you, marry you, and then you can be my mum. I was astounded, shocked, dumbfounded all at the same time. I looked up at Dave, worried in case he was angry or embarrassed or upset by what Kenny just said. But he was just kind of looking at Kenny, gave him a wink and said, well, Kenny, Christmas is a magical time, so who knows? And then said, come on, time to go. Picked him up and off he went without so much as a goodbye. Well, while Dave was packing up the car, Kenny came running back to me, gave me a hug and a kiss and said, now I know what I want to put on my Christmas list. Well, I haven't spoken to Dave since. Mind you, I'm not sure what I would say. It's been like 5 days now and he says that he's busy with work, but is he? Or is he just avoiding me? I mean, is he actually embarrassed or upset because of what Kenny said? Oh, I need a drink. Cheers.